Christine Ntim.
Christine Ntim.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
All right. So, hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for this session. Excited to be here as always. So, this is our mid-year reset. I'm going to talk about how to build your personal brand, get paid to speak, and finish strong for the rest of the year. And I think this is such a great time. I actually favor July a lot more than January because midway through the year, I don't know what happens, but a lot of the goals and the aspirations and activities that we had set forth for the year, life happens, and either you're on target or you're on target, but you're a little bit burnt out. Either way, it's a really weird, experience in the midway through. However, I always find that despite seeing that maybe you're not on course, or maybe you are, and you just feel like it's a little bit hard to handle, whatever the issue or challenge you might be facing midway through the year, I have not seen a lot of entrepreneurs talk about what do they do to reset, reframe, redirect, reassess, relaunch, right? Their goals and aspirations for the year. So if you've been looking for a framework or just a way to actually reset yourself and get back on track, this conversation is for you because this is going to be pretty much a personalized success plan to help you build your brand, monetize your expertise, and really increase your opportunities, not only around your personal brand, but for my entrepreneurs in the room to make you succeed with your entrepreneur goals for the year, okay, and beyond. So with that, I just want to formally introduce myself. My name is Christine Ntim. I am a speaker, a 3-time founder, and a personal brand strategist. And I am passionate and completely committed to my mission of helping to launch the next generation of entrepreneurial leaders who are leading with purpose, building businesses that truly tackle global challenges and build their brands in a way that leaves a legacy. I am also a mom, a wife. I have 5 beautiful children that call me mommy on a regular basis. And so alongside, this endeavor and this mission from a professional standpoint to build a business with purpose, I also have a personal vendetta to make sure that people understand that you could do this without burning out, without compromising. Yes, there will be hustle seasons in your career. Yes, there will be times where you have to get out there and bootstrap and put your boots on and really do your best. However, I don't think you need to sacrifice everything to have accomplished what really matters, to be fulfilled, to be happy, and to be purpose-led. And so that's the reason why a lot of my sessions are grounded on not only just strategy, but perspective and insight. So I hope you find this conversation useful and with an intention that really sets you on the right path. All right. So enough about me. Let's get into the conversation. And today I really want to talk about essentially how to set your year for success from a midway standpoint. Because like I said before, a lot of people look at the year, they have really big aspirations, and they kick off and they realize, I need help reassessing this. Maybe this is not what I thought. Maybe the market has shifted. So much has changed in the past year. Okay. And I would say that, this is a great time to kind of pause and reflect and just realign yourself a little bit, whether you've, again, exceeded your goals or you've fallen behind or you just simply want to clarify what your next move is. This is a conversation that's going to help you decide. Now, I've always talked about having not only entrepreneurial leaders, but people who are very, I would say, comprehensive about their strategy with their business activities or business or portfolio and their personal brand, how they build a reputation. I think It's so funny. I've been talking about personal branding alongside entrepreneurship for years. I'm at the intersection of impact tech and entrepreneurship. But for some reason, it's now that I see that a lot of people are interested in really thinking about how do I get paid speaking engagements? How do I monetize my brand? How do I do consulting? How do I do coaching? Because we're recognizing that entrepreneurs need to lead by example, and people want to get to know you as a founder before they really care about investing or working with your business. And so it's not just, an act to be able to monetize just your expertise. It's also an accelerant for those of you who are entrepreneurs for your business. When people know you, they know what you're about. They believe in the mission that you work on. And it helps a lot easier to close different stakeholders in the ecosystem, whether it be funders, investors, customers, partners, enablers. You are putting yourself in a position to succeed. Okay. And I will say, as a 3-time founder, I've built multiple different businesses. I have a startup company that accelerated so quickly. I not only made the Forbes list within literally 2 years of launching that business. Now it's a case study at Harvard Business School. I've launched an entrepreneurship organization, which is pretty much an education tech platform, which is the world's largest digital accelerator program, where we accelerate about 1,000 companies every single year across different countries around the world. That is a completely different business model than my first startup. And I've also launched multiple tech summit initiatives. I'm, the founder behind 60 different summit brands around the world. So if you've ever heard of programs like Haiti Tech Summit, Her Future Summit, Ghana Tech Summit, and tech summits around the world, we've done a tour globally to about 45 plus countries, launching about 60 different tech brands to really enable ecosystem leadership and stakeholdership and alignment. Okay. And so I've built businesses around completely different models, and don't even get me started on the multiple product offers that I've offered over the past decade under my personal brand, whether it be coaching, client base, courses, paid speaking deals, brand deals. I have monetized in more ways than none. And so I'm speaking from experience and saying that, you have to really look at a very comprehensive view. And I found that a lot of entrepreneurs are confused in balancing their strategy and alignment between their business goals and their personal goals. And so hopefully this conversation will help set you in a path for understanding how to better do that. Okay. Now I'll start with this. When it comes to planning, I always go back to straight one because I'm diving right in here. Okay. When it comes to planning, a lot of people always start with their goals. I want to do this. I want to do this. And of course, the better ones don't even just say what they want to accomplish. They have numbers and KPIs around it. I want to grow my LinkedIn by this amount. I want to grow my revenue by this amount, by this end of the quarter, etc. But I actually don't start with my goals. I start with my reality in terms of what is my actual time frame? What is my agenda? How do I work? What is my time flow? And I don't know if it's motherhood that made me do this, because I think people tend to think that mothers can't do as much. I actually think I've become more productive and more hands-on with my family, and at the same time, more decisive with my time when it comes to my professional life because I'm a mother. Okay. And I actually start with looking at my flow and how can I make sure that I maximize the time that I have when the kids are in school, when the baby is asleep, because I also have an infant that's a couple months old, and I've breastfed all my children. So you can see how involved I am, both in the home life and in the professional sense, to understand that I got to start from that. And I realized that there's a lot of professionals who are starting from their goals and then try to figure out how it would fit, as opposed to looking at their reality and looking like how they can maximize the time that they have to be productive. Because I don't think you need to burn out and, burn hours on end to make things happen. I think you can look at your life. If you have 8 hours in a day, how do you maximize and do things in under 2 hours, in under 3 hours? Parents will understand you need to do that in order to be successful. Okay. And so I wanted to scroll down and share with you and comment personal brand. If you want access to these notes, our VP clients will be getting these notes after. Okay. So I want to share on the screen here how I start with my plan. And my first step is actually looking at time increments and seeing how do I actually legitimately, and you have to be honest with yourself, flow in terms of time, and what is my ideal scenario so I can work towards that. Okay. So I always look at my annual calendar. Okay. So I create an ideal execution plan routine for the entire year and then work my way backwards. Okay. So I look at what are my quarterly goals, what are my monthly goals, what are my weekly goals, and then my daily flow. So on a monthly flow, okay, and I'll break this down a little bit more as we go along. On a month-to-month basis, I look at, okay, for my business portfolio, I have 3 different companies that I manage. I have my personal brand, okay? For those 3 companies, each one of those companies, I believe in having what we call live launches or marketing promotion campaigns to sell or promote the solution that we have for the market, okay? We don't believe in incremental growth when it comes to, like, reaching out to clients one by one by one. We look at, okay, mass market, how do I get a flow of 100, 1,000, 10,000 clients coming into the business just by doing live launches, okay? And so I usually do live launches every quarter. Right now, I've got it down to a science, so I'm able to do it monthly because the market has shifted. Back then, this is where I'll give you some background on my expertise in this. Back then, I was doing 5-day to 7-day launches, extensive trainings. And again, this is not a salesy tactic. This is a way for people to get to know you, see if you align, and see if, what you have to offer, your framework, your IP, your structure, your perspective, your blueprint would work for them. Okay. So it used to be 7 days. So that's the reason why I had to do less launches, because that's really intense to run an entire marketing campaign for 7 days straight where you're going live, giving content and leadership. So I was doing it once a quarter. The market has shifted where small launches work really well. So 3 days, 1 day, 3 hours, anything less than 3 days works. So now I can do it on a monthly basis. So I usually do live launches twice a month. One for my personal brand to extend my personal brand thought leadership, and one for my business portfolio. So GSC, for example, we're running AI ready accelerator programs. Every time we run that boot camp, we get a huge influx of applicants for our accelerator programs, paid clients for our paid workshop intensive to help them become more AI ready. Like, you get the gist. And for my personal brand, I have a flagship community, my personal brand business school, where people who want advice on how to really build, monetize, and scale their personal brand. I have a very small, tight-knit community that I build with. Every single month, I help them troubleshoot challenges around their personal brand, but also tell them the different things that they need to be tackling to succeed with their personal brand. The proof is in the pudding. With all I've been able to accomplish for my personal brand, they see, okay, you've been on Forbes, you've been featured in media outlets, you get paid speaking engagements, you work with these corporate deals. They're able to see, okay, these are the things I want to achieve as well. How do I do that? They go into personal brand business school. So 2 live launches a month is what I do to be able to pretty much gain visibility, convert that visibility into clients, and continue to build my community. And also, what I love most about it personally is I get to build on my craft. I get to, repeat my thought leadership, put it out there, push my buttons a little bit, and really, make sure that I'm answering questions. That's why I love when people come live and provide value to the best of my ability, because if you are passionate about the content that you do, you should be able to essentially really give value in a way that doubles time over time. I think my screen just went crazy. Did it? I think it did. Okay. So with that said, I'll try to bring it back up. No worries. We'll be okay. Okay. With that said, it's something that has been a continuous thing. So with that, I actually schedule out on my calendar for the year the dates for these 2 lives per month. Now, again, I don't believe in just picking dates. I look at, first and foremost, what are my patterns of behavior? So I recognize that the first week of the month is usually not the time frame that I want to do lives, right? And so I actually avoid doing lives on the first week of every month. So I noticed the last week is actually, for me personally, works really well no matter what month it is, unless it's my birthday month, which is in February. And so I've gotten to the point where I've essentially said, okay, I'm going to do them every last week and third to last week for my life, and that's how I've been doing it ever since. Okay. And so with that said, I schedule out July. These are the dates for my business live, and then my personal live. These are the dates and then August and September. I go all the way down. Okay. And then I also play around with, based on, right now we're doing mid-year reset. I'll look at the past 6 months. What converted higher? Was it a 3-day? Was it a 1-day? Was it a 3-hour? And then I adjust and experiment from there on the second half. So that's the first thing I do, is really look at, how do I create visibility at scale, okay, on a monthly basis for my business portfolio and my personal brand portfolio. This, by the way, very important that you understand that this is what converts at a higher premium when it comes to inflow of cash, inflow of clients, inflow of visibility. I hope you're tracking this because this is really important that you understand that. Now, from there, then I'm like, okay, where's my weekly flow? How do I make sure that these two lives, I'm working towards that on a monthly basis, but also at the weekly level? Again, I look at what is my actual habits. When I look at my week, guys, I think I've said this on multiple lives. I avoid Monday like a plague when it comes to meeting, talking, or interacting with any person that I know in the world, just in general. Mondays are notorious for people being crazy, and so I avoid any external facing activities on Mondays. And so Mondays is usually reserved for admin, internal planning, content writing, anything that has to do with just internal planning and execution process. You can see I love Word documents. I love spreadsheets. I am a girl with a spreadsheet. All that happens on Monday. On Tuesday, it's really administrative stuff aligned with my personal brand preparation for the week. So if I have clients, if I have coaching, speaking is probably, like, I would say 70% of my time is dedicated to managing speaking engagements, both virtual and in person, and 30% is to part-time coaching clients. I might change that because I'm starting to simplify my coaching offers. So I want to double down and provide more one-on-one and one-to-group many coaching services and advisory, because a lot of people always DM me, Christine, how can I work with you? How can I work with you? I'm like, join Personal Brand Business School, join Personal Brand Business School, join Personal Brand Business School. So I've simplified what I offer on a personal side over the years, because before I will do a workshop, I'll do this. And so now it's been very simplified. So regardless, that's the day to really organize and blast and email and newsletters and content. My LinkedIn, my Substack, all happens on Tuesday when it comes to my personal brand. On Wednesdays is when I conduct all my live sessions and start working on my business portfolio at a detailed level. So live like this one is a Wednesday, right? Going into Thursday. It was supposed to be yesterday, but I had to reschedule for today. But the point is, I usually do them on Wednesdays, okay? And then administratively, I also do my business activities on this time. So anything that has to do with GSC, like campaigns or internal things that we're doing, follow up with the team around, a client that we have like Microsoft, like, are we on target with their KPIs, with their entrepreneur days? Because one thing that we have with GSC is that we get several clients where we have a multi-year contract with a Microsoft or a World Bank or Google or MasterCard, where they say like, hey, we want to accelerate 1,000 companies or 100 companies or female founders. We want to get them AI ready. We need a training program. So we have clients that we manage, and that's the day that we do a lot of like interfacing with our clients on Wednesdays. On Thursday is where I do all live client session meetings with my personal brand, but also for our business portfolio. So this is really important. It makes sense why I'm doing this today, if not yesterday for Wednesday. Friday is also an admin day, but it's usually a flex day. I do believe in a 4-day work week, and I try my best to be as productive as possible in the work week. So that way Fridays could be more of a flex day for me to focus on getting ready for the weekend. And weekends, I really avoid trying to do any type of work, so that way I could just be with my kids and just enjoy. I love weekends. Sundays we go to church. Saturdays we usually stay home, or we go out and do something as a family. Very important that I keep those sacred. So that's when people call me or try to reach me on the weekend on anything business related, I give them the side eye like, no, it's not going to work. All right. So that's my weekly flow. So usually when we're sitting down with clients, we ask them, what's your weekly flow? Like, what is your typical flow of activity? And what would be your ideal scenario? So what actually happens and what's your ideal? I had to work towards identifying my ideal scenario for years. I remember before the pandemic, I was a little bit sporadic, doing random activities every single day. And granted, it led to results. I got the achievements and the accolades to prove it, but I was always tired. With this approach, I was able to say, okay, what's my ideal scenario? How do I actually want to show up? And I worked my way and adjusted around that. And so it's been great for me ever since. I recommend it to you. If you need a weekly flow routine, you can rearrange and figure out. But definitely always make sure that there is a day where you're not doing anything client-facing, so you can do deep work and planning. I can't stress this enough for entrepreneurs that we need to not be in the business. Sometimes you need to be working on the business and not in the business. Let me explain. You don't need to be working in the business, but on the business. So in the business is like you're handling client calls, you're putting out fires, you're dealing with this. But on the business is like your strategy. And as a CEO, you got to be looking at 5 years again, 10 years again. When are you going to exit the company? How are you going to leverage this? How are you going to do this? How are you going to follow? And I have different stakeholders. For GSC, we ran a crowdfunding campaign where we raised about close to $250,000 for that business. And so I got to make sure I'm following up, every single year to make sure my KPIs are really going along well with, our investors. So at the end of the year, when we have our annual meeting, I have enough information to share with them of like how we tackle challenges, how we deal with this, and a third. Same on the personal side, right? I have another business where I didn't raise capital, but I won capital, $250,000 through grants and competition. So how am I staying visible with those partners? How am I leveraging those stakeholders to gain visibility and momentum around that business? And I have another one where it's just purely through contracting, right? And so all these different things come into play, and you got to make sure that you are looking at your entire business portfolio, if you have multiple businesses, but at least your entire activations across the board to make sure that you're flowing properly. Okay. And then, of course, my daily flow. And this is probably the most flexible part of my planning process. Like sometimes things might adjust. Sometimes, I am going to have, a meeting at this time versus this time, but it usually has still, again, a framework, a skeleton of how I would ideally want it to be. Ideally, I don't want to meet or talk to anybody before 11. Okay. Like I like to start my mornings, in a way that's really designed by what I need to get done and prioritize. And so I try to avoid doing anything related to work, and front facing people before 11. So between 11 and 3 is where I do my deep work and administrative stuff, activations. 3 to 5 is flexible, where I'm doing administrative activities. And then 5 to 8, obviously, school runs, homework, family meetings. We do have a family meeting every night. And so want to make sure that, I'm ready for bedtime, and then we start the routine all over again the next day. Okay. And so this is the first thing that I do is my time flow plan. Okay. I look at my year, look at my quarter, and look at, okay, how do I run the campaigns for my business portfolio and my personal brand on a monthly basis? 2 live launches per month. Okay, so what do my week will look like to execute on that, and what do my day look like to make it happen? All right, and I break it down that way. So once I have that, then I could get into, okay, how do I now achieve the goals I wanted for my entire business, but also my personal brand? And this is where I want to give you some alignment, some factors around how to actually look at, executing on a day-to-day. So I have a black book. I don't have it with me now, but this is one of my books. I have a book for every year, by the way, where I write out everything. Like I'm big in tech, but I'm a big proponent of writing things down. This year's my black book is folded out, so that's why I'm on this one right now. But it's so important. It's 2026. I actually have a personalized, customized planner that I made as an entrepreneur, because I could not find a planner that incorporated my personal brand, checklist activities in my business portfolio, and my personal life as a mother and wife, right? And so I wanted to integrate everything, because I cook, by the way, all the time. I cook every day. I farm. I grow my vegetables. I grow different fruits outside. And so something that keeps track of all these things in my head in one place, because I do believe that everyone should have a hobby. Everyone should have personal things that they do alongside their business and professional life. I think it's very crucial to keep you sane, to keep you happy, and keep you fulfilled. And so I could not find a planner on the market that incorporated all these different things. And so I pretty much worked on it. And so I'm probably going to debut that this fall, because it has been a game changer since last year, working on my own personal planner. But the point is that if you don't have a planner, this is a 4-part chart that I have on my black book that I use to kind of like level head my head. Because I think we always do things like checklists, but we don't spread it out like, okay, you have 20 things on your head, but where are the areas that's most stressful and why, right? And what's one thing you accomplish for each one that can make you feel like you accomplished what you need to for the day. So on the personal side, obviously there's routine things that I do no matter what is going to happen. School run, cooking. Okay, that's great. But do I need to sign up for a trip? I put it that's under the personal side. For my brand, I have a live launch coming. Did I put the logistics out there ready to go? Am I updating? Am I looking at the masterclass leading up to that? All that is there. For my business brand, what are the checklist items I need to do with GSC, with Venetti, with HTS? Everything is there. So in my black book, again, I have my spreadsheets and Word document, but in my black book, I'm actually writing it out, thinking it through, marinating on it. So that way it is literally beyond pen to paper. I'm manifesting it as well. I do believe that when you write things out, you speak it out, you manifest it. If you say like, look, I'm going to hit 100K this month. I'm going to hit 1 million this year. I'm going to hit, like, it's not dreaming, you are manifesting it. And I don't know, something about writing your goals down, writing your dreams down, writing your God-given potential on paper, it just holds you accountable. And I'm getting emotional because every time I do this, like, people always say, Christine, how are you able to do all these things? It's because I write what I believe. And my husband sees this in real time. I will say I'm going to do this. And you're like, yeah, but that's not possible in this way. Because he's logically thinking of how it's possible. I'm a spiritually led person. I am like, look, if I write it, it's already done. Okay. And so I hope this is something that you think about when it comes to planning, that how are you putting your spiritual, your voice and your energy into the work that you want to do. So it's not just a checklist, it's, alignment, it's, chasing your calling, working towards something that's bigger than you. I think a lot of us are not working towards something that's bigger than themselves. And you might need to look at your goals and your aspirations and how you're executing. And like, are you actually working towards something worth fulfilling? And maybe you need to have a one-on-one conversation with yourself with that. But I can't stress enough, writing your goals down and writing your aspirations and how you want to manifest it, game changer entirely. Okay. So this is what I do on a daily, regular basis. So now part 2, let's talk about your personal brand and how to reset your personal brand for success in 2026. I have said this countless times. I'm one of the first people to actually be talking about this at length on the internet. You won't find people talk about this in this way, but your personal brand, if you are choosing to monetize it, you're making a business decision. And as such, you need a business plan. You need a business model to monetize your personal brand. And I've seen that, a lot of people say, like, with personal branding, how do I do personal branding? How do I monetize my brand? How do I do this? Really, I think the act of personal branding is you making a decision to formalize your expertise in a way that people can understand and engage with. Okay. And so with that said, if you're going to formalize that process and monetize that process, you need a business model. And I bring up the business model canvas because in the startup world, in the tech scene that I'm in, we all talk about the business model canvas. Okay. And the business model canvas is really a rubric for how to actually acquire customers, really kind of like a business model framework for success in the startup world. And one thing I didn't like about this structure, while it's great to give you kind of like a checklist of items that you need to identify to know that you have a real business case for your solution, I didn't think it incorporated what actually works to convert people into actual clients in today's digital age. And so this is the business model that I have leveraged over the past decade to monetize my personal brand. But any business endeavor that I have, this is the approach that I take. I always look at my foundational 3 items, okay, in this business model for any entrepreneur who wants to lead in this digital age that we're living in. First, what is your flagship product? I think a lot of us tend to offer multiple products or offerings like their retail stores. You need to have a higher elevated way of coming out and say, okay, this is my flagship product and this is what you're going to be known for. It's your package expertise or your package solution. Okay. Then this is something I see a lot of people don't do, a proposal. Like, how do you position and articulate the benefits of that product? A lot of us think that we know the solution for our clients, but we have not really articulated why this is the right solution compared to other alternative solutions. So the proposal does that. This is where you can give brand ROI, like, the description of your offer. And the last but not least, platform. Where do you want to find alignment where you are sharing the purpose of that offer where people can find you? Now, back in the day, before the internet came to play, we were operating from retail fronts. We all needed a store, and that was your location for people to be able to find you. Now, with the dawn of the internet, your platform is really social media. Hate it or love it, but social media is the gateway to clients. It's the highway for people, places, and things that are happening on the internet. And so once you make that selection of a platform that you want to dominate on, we have a whole social media marketing strategy in Personal Brand Business School. We talk about focusing on one place. And for me, that's LinkedIn. For some people, it might be Substack. On others, it might be Facebook. But focusing on one lane to attract your storefront, right? Because I tend to tell people are using social media as if they don't understand that it's literally multiple storefronts. So your storefront location could be on Instagram, could be on Facebook, could be on LinkedIn, but there's a reason why you're strained and overwhelmed when you're doing multiple posting and engaging on multiple different platforms. Because think about it physically, it's like you're running 4 different stores in 4 different countries. Okay, so you put a visual around that, it will change how you do social media. I'm like, okay, I need to have a flagship store again, flagship platform, LinkedIn for me, and then maybe satellite locations that give a taste of what we do, but tell people still go back to our flagship store. So, for example, my flagship might be LinkedIn, but I probably redistribute in YouTube, Facebook, this and that. But the core place where people can find the depth of what we offer is on LinkedIn. So, hopefully, that analogy give you a right visual. With that said, once you have the foundational items, the tipping point, this is what a lot of people don't know how to do, is what I'm doing right now, is pitching. And pitching really means you coming on live and having a thought leadership calendar where you go live once or twice a week. We go over the entire script framework and call to action framework that you need to succeed with live conversations. Fit between 15 minutes and 25 minutes. You go live to provide value on a consistent calendar system. And that's where you start to attract audiences and be able to convert them into a pipeline of sales and revenue. And that's it. So this is the business model that works. And eventually you're going to keep repeating this process. You're going to do it over and over and over into a cycle, because every time you launch a product, every time you update the product, you're going through this cycle over and over and over and over. And as you do that, you start to really strengthen your position in the market as the expert. That's why that's the center focus. People start to believe who you are, know who you are, like, trust, and want to work with you. You keep doubling down, doubling down, doubling down. And eventually, when you now expand this to your business, right? When you're thinking about resetting your business portfolio this year, think about, okay, how are you running marketing campaigns? How are you doing this? The biggest thing I would say, I follow the same business model approach. What's the core product for my personal brand? What's the core product for my first business, my second business, my third business? And what am I offering every single week as my proposal? So in my personal side is my weekly newsletter. For my GSC company is our articles and blasts, and go on and on and on with it. And what happens is, as you start to expand, your personal brand is laying on top of all this, where you're engaging with people, you're publishing your thought leadership, you're getting publicity. I have a whole section, I have a whole section on how to get publicity, right? How to build partnerships. We do partnership activations all the time with major global events like Davos, Unga Week, World Bank Spring Meetings, like Canes Festival just last week, right? Where we're actively partnering with different, organizations to be able to scale not only my personal brand, but our business endeavors and programs and initiatives. I do believe that if you want to take your brand to the next level, you need to be a part of programs. I owe a lot of my success to being a part of accelerators, boot camps, private memberships that really took my brand to the next level. I've paid for courses, I've paid for programs. I know there's trust that's broken in the market where now people don't know who to trust, but you can ascertain people's trust and authenticity over time if you follow them, engage with them, and say, okay, this is the right expert for the challenge that I'm trying to solve right now, and I want to work with them. You need to be able to get in the right room. So this is an ecosystem that really elevates your personal brand. And when you, really combine, I call this, your personal brand power hour. And this is something we go in depth in the personal brand business school, where how do we execute on this every single week, just 1 hour or less to get speaking bookings and personal brand opportunities, right? And then when you bring it all together, you have this core business model framework to be able to automated loop, by the way, routine for your business portfolio, but also your personal brand. You start to see growth. Okay, so this is how I evaluate the entire plan all put together to execute. Okay, where essentially, I have my business model. If you guys have, I think someone just said that they couldn't see the chart. You have your business model. What is the product, for my personal side, my business, and my book. So it really is something that I reinforce all the time, and I'm able to execute on a regular basis. All right. So with that said, this model is meant to just really share with you that 3 things. 1, if you're going to reset your year for success, the first thing is you need to look at how do you manage your time. And I share with you how I manage my time from an annual, quarterly, monthly activation activities, right, with live launches, weekly flow. Well, how do I want to structure my week? And then daily action items. How do I want to structure my day so I could win at my goals? And then once you figure out your time flow, then you need to have a business model that succeeds in the market, both for your personal brand and your business portfolio. For those of you who have multiple business, but even if you have one business, what is the planning process for you to build thought leadership on a regular basis, and how do you execute on this? We talk about having a power hour to be able to do that on a regular basis. So for me, I have my business portfolio hour where every activity is a boring routine. Okay. If your routine is not boring, that's mean you're doing too many sporadic things. That's the reason why you don't build momentum. It's a boring routine where every single week, once I do this, I'm hitting the goals, I'm hitting the mark, and staying on those KPIs, and repeat, and scale. I share with this in a previous live that the Power One framework: one offer, one conversion strategy, one audience. If you keep repeating that way, you're going to scale to multi-million-dollar success because you're focusing on crystallizing and really dominating your craft. In the end, all I can say is that if you've been figuring out how to actually position yourself for success, the year is all about looking at your goals, looking at your time and your strategy. And that's what I shared with you today. How do you reevaluate your time? Put it in a time flow that actually flows well for you and your actual situation. And how do you evaluate your strategy? What business model are you leveraging to really focus, customize, and be known for something in a strategic way where you stay top of mind by building thought leadership on a regular cycle period? With that, I hope that you found this session useful. This is only surface level of how to really think about your brand and how to think about your business portfolio. I would love to invite you guys all to be able to join me on a live workshop activation where we're going to go over how to actually execute this for your personal brand and your business. I'll leave some information in the comments on how to be able to join that. But essentially, my biggest, goal and message to you is that anything that you've been trying to do is very possible. Anything. It's all about how you manage your time and how you make sure you dominate turning your business model into a continuous routine that works for you. So I look forward to seeing you guys succeed in this endeavor. I look forward to seeing that the second half of 2026 is going to be the breakthrough you've been waiting for. All the best to each and every one of you for really showing up and being really committed to your goals for the year. Let's go get them. You got this. I can't wait to see you soar. Thank you so much for joining me on the Midyear Reset: how to build your personal brand, get paid to speak, and finish 2026 strong. Go get them, everyone. Bye-bye.